Welcome, guys. I have a video here to show you from John Solomon on Tulsi Gabbard's potential retirement and going out in a blaze of glory. It's related to several different subjects, and we'll talk about it afterwards. I'd appreciate if you'd subscribe, like, and share. It's a huge boost to the channel, and it's totally free. All right, let's get to it. Let's watch John Solomon.
She's going to go out in a blaze of glory in her final month because she will be able to release in succession some extraordinary evidence of foreign interference in our election in 2020 and since. The intelligence community has known a lot more about active measures from China and Iran and other enemies that it did not make public. Instead, it gave a false intelligence community gave the Americans a false sugar pill saying that the 2020 election was the most secure in history. She will systematically destroy that narrative. Now, I think she'll be briefing senators soon on states whose voter databases were penetrated by China. That could move the needle on some of these senators voting for the Save America Act. I think there's a tranche of documents that Tulsi Gabbard needs from OMB. If you listen and Russ vote, pay attention to this. This is important. There is concern that Ukraine was involved in a 2024 scheme to take a large federal grant that was given to Ukraine and launder it back to the Biden 2024 campaign. We're not talking about Hunter Biden grift in 2014. We're talking contemporaneously in 2024. The evidence of whether that occurred or not sits in OMB's files because OMB is currently running the U.S. Agency for International Development. If she can get those documents, she could make a criminal referral to the FBI. Thus far, she doesn't have those documents. So I hope Russ vote jumps into action pretty quickly. The third thing, so those are the foreign interference things. You could have cheating, a U.S. taxpayer money going to Joe Biden's campaign. That's what the intercepts that we talked about a month ago showed. The proof of that, and I've even talked to some U.S. intelligence community sources who are familiar with what they believe happened here. The proof of that is sitting in USAID records currently in Russ Vote's possession. The second part of this is what the FBI is doing. Sometimes you don't get a mobster for being a mobster. You get them on taxes or you get them on some other violation. The election workers down at the state levels who changed the rules of election from what their legislatures mandated in Wisconsin, in Georgia, in Arizona can be criminally prosecuted if they did so knowingly and willing, meaning that the legislature said you should do X, but you ran the election this way because that's what you wanted to do. That is what the FBI is beginning to interview people day in and day out doing. And if they build enough evidence with these workers that instructions were given contrary to what the legislature's intent was, you will have a full-blown cheating scandal. The cheating will be they didn't conduct the election the way the law said. That's a little different than what people thought. It's not machines flipping votes, but it's still a form of cheating. It's still depriving the American public of a fair election. Yep. That's where the FBI is going. And yesterday, there was a big win in North Carolina. It isn't getting the attention it deserves. North Carolina bureaucrats in the election regime wanted to start registering people who had never set foot in North Carolina and didn't live in California. In North Carolina. They wanted to give them voter registration status even though they don't live in the state. A judge said that is ludicrous. But those are some of those bureaucratic deep state power moves that are cheating elections. A judge beat that back. Things like that went on in 2020, and that's what Kash Patel is pursuing.
Now, isn't that interesting? So Joe Biden is using USAID, potentially, allegedly, to funnel hundreds of millions of dollars back to his campaign. And by the way, his pardons won't cover anyone that was involved for that. But these are just more reasons why we saw him issue these totally unorthodox pardons. So the declassified documents revealed in 2022, Ukrainian officials discussed a hypothetical plan to route hundreds of millions of U.S. clean energy infrastructure grants through USAID. Office of Budget Management has the records, and Tulsi knows what's going on. And I think for John Solomon to be saying this, where there's smoke, there's fire. He has inside information, and I think we're going to find out that this, in fact, did happen. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So they wanted the objective was to divert up to 90% of those funds to Joe Biden's election. And the effort to get these files has already been ordered. So we're gonna see what happens here. And what else he talked about was the FBI and what happened in 2020. And we all knew these states changed the rules on the fly to benefit the Democratic Party and to get the rules just the right way so that they could throw Trump out of office. And we all know that they cheated. But it's interesting to hear that Kash Patel is looking at 2020 in this way. And I think there will be evidence here too that there was tons of cheating going on. So now we have an investigation going on. And I think, given the things Kash has said in the past, I think we're going to get a real investigation on both of these. Okay. And I think when we see the USAID files for 2024, I wouldn't be surprised if hundreds of millions of dollars were funneled to Joe. And, his family has, dozens of cutout companies and, LLCs. They have them in a 5-year-old's name. So it's just going to be a matter of the will to track the money down. And I hope that we get to the truth in this and in what happened in the 2020 election. Guys, I thought this was super interesting. I wanted to bring this one to you. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful day. God bless.